What's happening, everybody? Off the top rope, off the mic, Sports Network. So listen, I don't do these live streams anymore to talk about Dynamite because I feel like I'm just going to be interacting with the chat. It's nothing against you guys, but it's like I'm not going to stay on topic, and I need to stay on topic here for this because I am really frustrated with not the way Hangman Adam Page is being presented, but the way the World Championship is being showcased on AEW television right now. Listen, I'm going to be the first to tell you, I don't like that the World Champion was involved for WWE, was involved in a mixed tag team match with his wife against his top challenger and his wife. And I like all four of those people involved. I'm telling you, couples matches just do not work for me in general. Okay, it was nice, and it was softened up for me by the fact that AJ Lee, one of my favorite female performers, one of my favorite performers of the last decade, returned for the first time in 10 years. And I think the relationship that she has with her husband, CM Punk, is adorable. But portraying it on television is a little, it was a little unnecessary. And having your World Championship in that spot, was a little bit odd. But Hangman Adam Page, let's go back to July. One of the biggest moments in AEW company history. Beats Jon Moxley in the Texas Death Match in the main event. Global, I feel, biggest North American show they've ever done. Frees it from the briefcase. It's a great moment. I love Hangman. I think he's a great performer. One of the most emotion-driven performers in the business today. A lot of people don't like it, think he's overly emotional. I actually think it adds layers to his character. So Hangman, since he won the championship, has defended against Jon Moxley. He has defended against MJF, who was supposed to be cashing in his contract stipulation but didn't do it. And then he faced Kyle Fletcher at All Out in a 40-minute match that meant nothing because Kyle Fletcher's the TNT champion. And nobody in their right mind thought that Kyle Fletcher was going to beat Hangman Adam Page, who literally 2 months ago had the biggest win. Like I said, the biggest and most monumental moment in company history. They're not going to cut his legs out from underneath him for a 26-year-old guy who is just not ready to be world champion yet. And then we're getting towards Dynamite following All Out, and announced on the internet about an hour before the show. I found this really perplexing. Tony Khan announces that Hangman Adam Page is having an open challenge. Raise your hand the last time that the World Championship was ever defended in any wrestling promotion by open challenge. A top championship was ever defended in an open challenge against Lee Moriarty. I think Lee Moriarty is a very talented wrestler. I don't see him very much on Dynamite. He's mostly on Collision and Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor pure champion. Great wrestler. The fuck is Lee Moriarty done outside of beef from Pittsburgh, where the event was held? The fuck is Lee Moriarty done to earn a world championship match literally 4 days after a pay-per-view, after Hangman went 40 minutes? What they are doing to the AEW World Championship is making it as insignificant as the TNT Championship. And that is not something that you want. You want the World Championship to feel special. You want it to feel unique. You want it to feel different. Now, I didn't like what they did necessarily at WrestlePalooza, but here was the built-in caveat of what they did with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. They added their wives to the whole stipulation, to the whole match. It effectively turned into basically, okay, it was a showcase for AJ Lee. Punk and Rollins, basically kind of have a match, but it's not for the World Championship, so we're not repeating stuff. It's not great, but at least you're putting, importance and adding some different layers to your top championship feud. It's a little bit more personal. But giving a guy who basically has no relevance whatsoever to the World Championship. Lee Moriarty's not in the Don Callis family. Lee Moriarty's not associated with MJF. Lee Moriarty doesn't do any of this. The only thing that he got as a qualification for this match was that he was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So does Kurt Angle can Kurt Angle just get a world title match the next time they're in Pittsburgh? Probably not, because he's a WWE Hall of Famer and they won't employ him there. Like Britt Baker, Like, Britt Baker wasn't going to challenge Hangman. And Britt, by the way, we'll talk about Britt Baker because she ain't ever coming back to AEW. She's going to be in WWE at some point. She is being held hostage as far as I'm concerned. But the fact that Hangman Adam Page, he has had zero direction whatsoever. Zero direction since the biggest win in company history 2.5 months ago. And he's probably heading towards another feud with the Death Riders. Jon Moxley is going to face Darby Allin in an I Quit match at WrestleDream. But we're already seeing Hangman is teaming with the Ops against the Death Riders. Some of this is related to the fact that they have nobody healthy in that company. Swerve Strickland's off television. Will Ospreay's off television. Wardlow, some people said he was groomed to be in there. Some people said he's not. They're not going to go to Takeshita because Takeshita is probably going to go after, the Unified Championship and Okada. Okada's not going to go after Hangman. They've got nobody. But the best you can do is throw him 4 days after a pay-per-view. You just start tossing around world title matches like they're candy. How does that make the AEW World Heavyweight Championship feel any more prestigious than any world championship in any other promotion? It's just a random, it's no better than one of those random Jamoke championships that Mercedes Moné carries around from one of those random ass promotions that's one of the 9 belts there. It makes the AEW World Championship feel completely and utterly insignificant. I saw this announcement and I knew where this was going to go, and I knew what it was going to lead to from some of these sickos who are just going to be like, hey, Lee Moriarty looked great in a showcase match. Fuck that. That's not what the world title should be. If you wanted to do that with the TNT Championship. Do what Sami Zayn is doing with the United States Championship. That's what secondary titles are for. World championships are for the best professional wrestlers in your company. They are for people who earn them. They are for people who deserve them. And I think Lee Moriarty is an incredibly talented wrestler, but he has zero qualifications or relevance to what is being told on television. And you mean to tell me that guy gets a world championship match before some of the most qualified people in that promotion? I know there's not a lot of them there because a lot of them are hurt. But you mean to tell me that Lee Moriarty, just because he is from Pittsburgh, gets a world championship match? That sends the completely wrong message. I don't care what you want to tell me. I'm banging things around here on my table. I don't care what you want to tell me. That is bullshit. That's like if Seth Rollins gave a title opportunity to some jobber in NXT who's a Dante Chen. Dante Chen, who I like. Give it to some guy in NXT. I don't even know if Dante Chen is still employed by WWA. But if he gave it to some random guy in NXT, if Seth Rollins gave that out and had a 20-minute match with him, the fuck does that do for Seth Rollins? What the fuck does that do for the World Championship? I understand Seth Rollins wrestled a lot when he was World Heavyweight Champion as a babyface, but he wrestled people who were qualified and who were presented in the main event picture, like a Damian Priest. Like, he didn't wrestle JD McDonough, who was a geek and a jobber. He didn't wrestle Carlito. He wrestled some of the top key figures like Finn Balor, Damian Priest. Yeah, we rolled our eyes at the Judgment Day, but they're not doing that. At least there's people who feel like a big deal and feel like enough that they need to be presented in the story. Yes, I did not like what they did at WrestlePalooza by putting the wives and getting the wives involved in a world championship feud. But they needed a stopgap. They needed a showcase. It was more about AJ Lee than anything. And here we are. So I don't know what the fuck AEW is doing. I really don't. I don't know what they're seeking to gain in Hangman Adam Page's reign by having him wrestle guys who are like talented, but are effectively nobodies in the grand scheme of things. If you want to tell me I'm wrong, go ahead. But, like I said, I have no idea how this benefits anybody. It doesn't even benefit Lee Moriarty. He's just going to go straight back to where he was. And he's just a champion who lost on television. So how does that help him? He lost. Who cares? Tell me that I'm wrong. Because I think it's stupid. Anyway, thanks so much. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.